Greetings all, Shane Bruce, Resto Mod Daisy, and today we're going to be looking at some of the things we do with wood. Specifically, we'll be looking at some selected blanks because we have a buttstock we need to make for a client. It's always difficult with figured wood, especially maple, to really know what it's going to look like when you get done with the project. Because maple is a very light wood prior to being stained, it's difficult to detect if there's enough curl. And sometimes what looks like is going to be a great piece of wood, a great stock, turns out to be not so hot.
Right.
So it's hard to tell at times whether a piece of figured maple is going to actually end up looking good. Sometimes you pick a piece and you process it and you finish it and you get all the way to this phase where you've got stain on it, and then suddenly you realize it wasn't quite as nice a piece as I was looking for. Because in figured wood, you've always got the girlfriend side and the mother-in-law side. And there's no way of telling really until you get stain on it. And even after stain, you really don't know for sure until you actually get oil on it and get some shine so you can see if the chatoyance is working correctly. But anyway, we make our best effort on selecting a buttstock to do for a project. Now, this one seems to have the potential to have some flame in addition to quite a bit of curl, but you'll notice that there was a limb growth in here. Now, I've done other wood, other stocks that had a similar feature, and it did not turn out to be a negative. The client that wound up with it liked it quite a bit because they are unusual. This is I believe has quite a bit of fiddle and some flame down near the base of the butt. But once again, we'll never know until we actually get it processed. And I'm trying to tilt it so you can see the difference in the way the curl of the wood looks in different light. So basically, once we've gotten done fiddling about and selected, that's really nice on this side, but on this side it's so different. Hard to say. It's an artistic thing. So once we select one of these pieces, the next phase of the operation is we take it over to the workbench. Oh, here we've already started here. I've earmarked where the end of the lever needs to be. So that's the first thing you need to do is get it fitted to a receiver and know where your lever cut is going to have to be at. Now we're going to slide over here to the bench. Okay, so after you've located where the lever cut is going to end, because that's the inlet we're going to put right in here, the next thing to do is take a look at the blank and see how thick it is. So to do that, you grab your calipers, you just pin it down. See, it's 82 there, it's 81.4 there, it's 82 there. So we'll figure halfway across this blank is 41. So we dial in 41. We lock the caliper in place, engage the outer lip, and make ourselves a divot. That's our center line. Then we run up here to the top of the stock, and we do exactly the same thing. We put a center line. So that is our hypothetical, theoretical center line piece of the work. So now we're going to give ourselves, go back to the caliper and dial it up to 12.5 or thereabouts. That's pretty close. 12.5 is 12.5. Now on this job, what you got to do, I'm going to give you some cross illumination, is you center one part of your caliper in the center line and you go outboard so that you've got a cutout here that's 12.5 away. You repeat the process here, that's 12.5 away, which gives you a 1/4 inch wide gap, 1/4 inch wide slot. Then we run up here to the top of the stock blank, and we do the same exact thing. You're gonna have to move the camera, I can't see because you're covering my light.
Yeah.
All right, so now we've got our two tick marks, and that tells us where our center line's at. Now we just get a pencil, and we give ourselves a cheat. We fill in the two marks that indicate our 1/4 inch wide line. Two marks that indicate our 1/4 inch wide line. Then we grab a straight edge of some description. I like using these because they're long enough, but they're flexible, so you gotta hold on to them pretty well. And you line up your two tick marks, and then draw a line. Line up the two tick marks, and then draw a line. And try not to let it wiggle. All right, so there we go. We wiggled. So get that relined and finish that one up. Bam. Now we'll go to the opposite side, and we'll do exactly the same thing. We'll line up on those two tick marks, and let's flip this over. Maybe it'll compress a bit as opposed to flex. There we go. And we draw ourselves another hopefully wiggle-free line. Bam. All right, those are our reference points. So the way I build stocks here at Restomod, I'll always leave this flat section because it's reminiscent of the old Kentucky long rifles. Now the next thing we're going to do here is we're going to reset our work in the vise, and we are going to chisel out, use chisels to get the relief we need for, let's get this reversed, for the lever slot. So we can go ahead and get that cut before we move on and start profiling the stock. So it's a pretty simple process. You just grab some of your files or some of your chisels and get yourself a whack-em device. And what we're going to do here is we're going to take this chisel and we're going to line it up on our line, and we're going to tap it in place. All we're doing is making a small cut to guide the chisel when we take out the stripe in the middle. So I'm going to finish lining this up, and we'll come back in just a second. Okay, as you can see, or maybe not, what we've done is gone ahead and chiseled out these two outside lines. Now we're going to take a smaller chisel and place it in the middle, and we're just going to start tapping on down to take out that piece of wood. Because what we have to do is we have to provide an inlet for the lever to rest inside the stock. Otherwise, the alignment on the nose of the lever and the plunger assembly won't be correct. So it's a fairly easy process, but it is repetitive. You just basically work your way down the slot. Try not to get too deep on any particular cut, because we need this thing to end up being a little bit less than 0.20 in depth. But we won't be able to actually determine that until after we've fitted it to the receiver. But it's always wise to get these cuts made while you've got a max amount of wood to play with before you start profiling anything, because then things can get a little sketchy. So like any other chisel operation, you just continually make passes until you relieve the amount of wood you believe you'll need, and then you move on to the rest of the fitting process, because you can always come back to this and make it deeper. Now, one thing you can't really do very comfortably or easily is make it shallower. So it's best to err on the side of thinness in the initial stages. And if it turns out, due to the attack angle of the stock on the back of the receiver, and oh, we had a chip there, that's not good, but that's not death. The attack angle on the receiver might be a little bit different from what we think it will be. So at this point in time, what we'll do is we flip it around, and our next operation is going to be to profile the nose of the stock. And by that, we're just going to put a basic half-inch turn here and then begin the fitting process for the receiver. But we'll cover that in another video. So that's all for today, kids. Stock selection, getting your lineup done, getting your lever recess cut, and then getting ready for the fitting phase, which is where we'll get a receiver fitted to this particular piece of wood. This is Shane Bruce with the Restomod Daisy, signing off.